Part 1. The bridge of the UES Indomitable shook violently. Another explosion hit the ship's outer hull. Admiral Teho Kwan gripped the armrest of his command chair, but his face remained calm. Around him, officers shouted damage reports and casualty numbers. The main view screen showed Earth below, burning. Massive fires covered entire continents. Alien warships filled the sky like metal locusts. "Sir, we've lost contact with the Beijing Defense Station," Lieutenant Yuna Shin reported from her communications console. She was only 19 years old, the youngest officer on the bridge. Her voice shook slightly, but she kept working. "That's the 8th station in the last hour." Kwan nodded slowly. He had expected this. Earth's orbital defenses had been failing for days. The Vorthak Dominion had brought their entire fleet, hundreds of warships designed for one purpose, killing humans. The war had lasted 3 years. Humanity had fought on every colony world, every moon, every space station. Now only Earth remained, and Earth was dying. Engineering. "Status report," Kwan said into his comm unit. "Main reactor at 60%, came the gruff voice of Engineer Junho Nam. "We're holding together with spare parts and prayers, Admiral. The old girl has maybe 6 more hours of combat in her." 6 hours. Kwan looked at the tactical display. 6 hours would have to be enough. Deep in Antarctica, beneath kilometers of ice, scientists were working on humanity's last hope. They needed time. Every minute the Indomitable and her sister ship stayed in the fight was another minute those scientists had to complete their work. "Sir, incoming transmission," Yuna said. "It's from the Vorthak flagship. They're broadcasting on all channels. Put it on screen." The view screen changed. A massive alien appeared, Supreme Warlord Krathax. He stood over 3 meters tall with 4 powerful arms and scales like dark metal. His eyes were yellow and cold. Behind him, Vorthak officers celebrated their victory. "Humans," Krathax's voice was deep and mocking. "Your resistance is over. Your ships are broken. Your cities burn. We offer no surrender. We offer no mercy. By tomorrow, humanity will be extinct. Your species will become a warning to others who challenge the Dominion." The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. Kwan stood up slowly. Every eye turned to him. These men and women had followed him through 3 years of hell. They had watched friends die. They had seen colonies destroyed. They knew Earth was lost. They needed to hear something, anything, that made this sacrifice meaningful. "We've lost this battle," Kwan said quietly. "The Vorthak are right about that. But they're wrong about one thing. They think destroying our ships means destroying humanity. They don't understand what makes us human. It's not our weapons or our cities. It's our refusal to give up. Every minute we fight, we protect something precious. Trust me. Keep fighting." Far above Earth, Captain Haejin Park pushed her fighter into a steep dive. 3 enemy interceptors followed her. Her wingmen, Do-Yoon and 2 others, flew in tight formation beside her. They were heading toward a massive Vorthak battlecruiser that was targeting civilian evacuation ships. "Park, that cruiser is too heavily defended." Do-Hyun's voice came through her helmet. "We won't make it through." "Those transports are carrying children," Park replied. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. She had been a racing pilot before the war, back when Earth was peaceful. That life seemed like someone else's memory now. "My brother's kids are on one of those ships. I'm not letting them die." "Then we all go together," Do-Hyun said. The 12 fighters of Park's squadron dove toward the battlecruiser. Enemy fire filled the space around them. The first fighter exploded in a ball of flame. Then another. Park gritted her teeth and kept flying. Her targeting computer locked onto the cruiser's shield generator. "I'm hit." Do-Hyun's voice was strained. "Losing power. Park, I'm going to ram their shield generator. When it goes down, you take the shot." "Do-Hyun, no, eject. Tell my wife I love her." Do-Hyun's fighter accelerated straight into the shield generator. The explosion was massive and beautiful. The cruiser's shields flickered and died. Park felt tears on her face, but her hands stayed steady. She led the remaining fighters through the breach. They fired everything they had into the cruiser's reactor core. The battlecruiser broke apart from the inside. Park pulled up hard, but 2 more of her fighters didn't make it out. They were consumed by the explosion. Only 3 fighters remained from her squadron of 12. Park guided them back toward the Indomitable. Her fighter was barely flying. Warning lights covered her cockpit display. She could see the evacuation transports accelerating away. Safe for now. Do-Hyun's sacrifice had worked. In Antarctica, deep beneath the ice, Dr. Minho Choi stood in a vast underground facility. Thousands of pods filled the chamber, each one containing a sleeping human. His daughter Yumi stood beside him. She was only 16 years old and she was terrified. "Do I have to go to sleep, Father?" Yumi asked. Choi knelt down to look into her eyes. "Yes, this is the only way. The Lazarus pods will keep you safe. When you wake up, the war will be over." "Will you be there when I wake up?" Choi felt his heart break. He had spent 5 years building this facility in secret. The Lazarus Protocol was his life's work, a way to upload human consciousness and store it safely. When the time was right, centuries from now, new bodies would be grown and the uploaded minds would wake in them. These children would survive. They would rebuild humanity. But Choi himself wouldn't be there. Someone had to stay behind to activate the system. "I'll always be with you," he lied. He helped Yumi into her pod and watched as she closed her eyes. The upload process began. Within minutes, her consciousness was converted to quantum data and stored in the facility's core servers. Her body would remain frozen, preserved until it was time. Choi's assistant touched his shoulder. "Sir, we're detecting Vorthak ships in the upper atmosphere. They're heading this way." Choi stood and walked to his control console. The upload was only 73% complete. He needed more time. He sent an encrypted message to the Indomitable. "Request immediate defense. Lazarus not ready." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Quan received the message. He looked at his tactical display. The Vorthak had found the facility. If they destroyed it, humanity truly would be extinct. He made his decision. "All ships, this is Admiral Quan. We're leaving Earth orbit. Set course directly for the Vorthak flagship. We're going to make them pay attention to us." "Sir, that's suicide," his tactical officer said. "Yes," Quan replied, "but it will buy Dr. Choi the time he needs. Humanity's future is in those pods. Our job is to protect that future. Yuna, send a message to Commander Borum Lee. Tell her to get to Antarctica now. That facility needs ground defense." The Indomitable turned away from Earth and accelerated toward the massive Vorthak fleet. Behind her, the last ships of humanity's navy followed. They were broken, damaged, running on emergency power, but they flew together toward impossible odds. On her landing pad, Captain Park watched them go. Her fighter was too damaged to fly. She stood on the deck and saluted as the fleet passed above. Then she heard her name called over the ship's intercom. "Captain Park, report to Hangar Bay 3. We have one fighter left that can fly. You're ordered to escort civilian transports." Park looked at the Indomitable sailing toward the enemy fleet. She thought of her brother's children, safely aboard a transport heading away from Earth. She thought of Do-hyun's sacrifice. Then she thought of all the children in Dr. Choi's facility in Antarctica, sleeping and vulnerable. "Negative," Park said into her comm. "Give that fighter to someone else. I'm requesting assignment to the flagship assault." She ran toward the hangar. If the Indomitable was making a final stand, she would be there. Earth burned behind them. The Vorthak fleet waited ahead. And in Antarctica, Commander Borum Lee's dropship raced toward the Lazarus facility as enemy ships appeared on the horizon. The final battle for humanity's survival had begun. Commander Borum Lee's dropship hit the ice hard. She was the first one out, her cybernetic legs absorbing the impact easily. Behind her, 40 Special Operations soldiers jumped out and immediately began setting up defensive positions. The Antarctic wind howled around them, but Lee barely felt it. Her enhanced body could handle extreme temperatures. Above them, 3 Vorthak dropships descended through the clouds. They were massive troop carriers, each holding hundreds of alien soldiers. Lee counted quickly. 3 ships meant at least 600 enemies. Her team had 40 soldiers. The math was bad, but math had never stopped humans before. "Set up the mines along the approach routes," Lee ordered. Her voice was calm and cold. "I want overlapping fields of fire, automated turrets on the high ground. When they come, we make every meter cost them blood." One of her soldiers, a young man named Taman, looked worried. "Commander, how long do we need to hold?" Lee checked her communication device. A message from Dr. Choi appeared. "Need 6 hours for upload completion." She looked at her small force and the approaching enemy ships. 6 hours was impossible. 3 hours was unlikely, but she would try. "As long as it takes," Lee replied. "Now move." Inside the Lazarus facility, Dr. Choi watched the progress bars on his screens. The upload was at 79%. Thousands of human minds were being converted to quantum data and stored in the facility's core, children mostly. Some adults who volunteered. each one a hope for humanity's future. His assistant ran up to him. "Doctor, we're detecting weapons fire above us. Commander Lee's team is engaged." Choi felt sick. People were dying to protect his work. His daughter slept in one of those pods, her mind safely stored. But the soldiers fighting above would never see tomorrow. He forced himself to keep working. Their sacrifice had to mean something. In space, the UES Indomitable charged directly at the Vorthak flagship. Admiral Kwan stood on his bridge, watching the distance close. Around the Indomitable, the last ships of Earth's fleet followed. They were a sad collection. Damaged cruisers, half-destroyed destroyers, ships that should have been in repair docks but were instead flying into their final battle. "Admiral, the Vorthak are pulling ships back from Earth orbit," Lieutenant Yuna reported. "They're forming a defensive line around their flagship." Kwan smiled grimly. Good. Every Vorthak ship focused on him was one less ship heading toward Antarctica. "All vessels, concentrate fire on their flagship's shields. We're going to punch through." Engineer Junho Nam's voice came through the comm. "Admiral, the main reactor is overheating. I'm pushing it beyond safe limits. We'll have maybe 30 minutes before it goes critical." 30 minutes is all we need," Kwan replied. Captain Park's fighter screamed through space alongside the Indomitable. She had joined the suicide charge despite orders to evacuate. Her two remaining wingmen flew beside her. They were diving into the Vorthak formation, outnumbered 100 to 1. "Park, you should have left." Admiral Kwan's voice came through her helmet. "With respect, Admiral, my brother's children are in that Antarctic facility," Park replied. "I'm not running while they're in danger." Vorthak interceptors swarmed toward them. Park's hands moved across her controls with perfect precision. She had been the best racing pilot in the solar system before the war. Now she was the deadliest fighter pilot humanity had. She rolled, dove, and fired. One enemy fighter exploded, then another. But there were too many. Her first wingman died in a ball of fire. The second lasted 10 more seconds before enemy weapons tore his fighter apart. Park was alone now, flying through a storm of enemy fire. Her fighter's shields were failing. Alarms screamed in her cockpit. She ignored them all and kept firing. She saw her target, a massive Vorthak carrier. Its launch bays were full of fighters preparing to deploy toward Earth. If those fighters reached Antarctica, Commander Lee's team wouldn't stand a chance. Park made her decision instantly. She cut her fighter's safety limiters and pushed the engines to maximum. "Indomitable, this is Park. I'm going for the carrier. Tell my brother I love him." "Captain, wait," Kwan started to say, but Park had already committed. Her fighter accelerated to ramming speed. Enemy fire hit her from all sides. Her shields collapsed. Her left wing exploded off, but momentum carried her forward. At the last second, Park ejected. Her escape pod shot away as her fighter plunged into the carrier's bridge. The explosion was massive. The carrier's reactor went critical and the entire ship broke apart. Hundreds of Vorthak fighters were destroyed before they could launch. Park's escape pod tumbled through space, damaged and leaking air. She could see Earth through the small window. Her home was burning, but she had bought it a few more minutes. She closed her eyes and hoped it would be enough. On the Antarctic ice, Commander Lee's position was being overrun. Her team had fought for 2 hours. They had killed hundreds of Vorthak soldiers. Mines had taken out the first wave. Automated turrets had slaughtered the second. But the enemy kept coming. Lee was down to 15 soldiers. They had retreated to the facility's outer doors. The Vorthak were advancing across the ice, using the bodies of their dead as cover. Lee's cybernetic systems calculated trajectories and identified targets. She fired with machine precision. Every shot killed an enemy, but it wasn't enough. "Commander, we should fall back to the inner bunker," Taman said. He was bleeding from a shoulder wound but still fighting. "No," Lee replied. "If we give them the outer doors, they'll break through faster. We hold here." She checked her comm device. The upload was at 95%. "Almost there. Just a little longer." She looked at her soldiers. They were exhausted, wounded, running out of ammunition. But not one of them suggested retreat. "Listen to me," Lee said. "There are thousands of children in this facility. They're humanity's future. When they wake up centuries from now, they need to know that we stood. They need to know we didn't break. So we fight. Understood?" "Yes, Commander," they replied together. The Vorthak charged. Lee's team opened fire. Bodies fell on both sides. Lee's enhanced reflexes let her dodge and shoot faster than any human should. But even she couldn't fight forever. A plasma bolt hit her left arm, burning through the cybernetics. She switched her rifle to her right hand and kept firing. In space, the Indomitable finally reached the Vorthak flagship, but the cost had been terrible. Every other Earth ship was destroyed. The Indomitable itself was dying. Half her crew was dead. The reactor was minutes from critical failure. But they had done what they came to do. They had pulled the Vorthak fleet's attention away from Antarctica. "Admiral, reactor breach imminent," Engineer Nam reported. 5 minutes at most. Quan looked at his remaining crew. "Evacuation order. All personnel to escape pods." "That's a direct order." Nobody moved. Lieutenant Yuna looked up from her console. "Sir, the upload in Antarctica just hit 100%. Dr. Choi is activating the final sequence." Quan felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Relief. They had succeeded. Humanity would survive. He looked at his crew and saw the same understanding in their eyes. They had won the only victory that mattered. "Then we've done our job," Quan said quietly. "It's been an honor serving with you all." The Indomitable's reactor exploded. The flagship of humanity's defense fleet died in a burst of light visible from Earth's surface. In Antarctica, Dr. Choi pressed the final activation button. The Lazarus protocol was complete. Thousands of human consciousnesses were safely stored in quantum servers buried deep beneath the ice. Automated systems began their centuries-long task of building, researching, and preparing. Choi heard explosions above. The Vorthak had breached the outer doors. Commander Lee was still fighting, but she wouldn't last much longer. Choi activated the facility's self-destruct sequence. The Vorthak couldn't be allowed to discover what was here. He looked at his daughter's pod one last time. "Sleep well, Yumi. When you wake up, make them proud. Make them all proud." Commander Lee held the final corridor. Her team was dead. She was alone, her body broken, kept upright only by her cybernetic enhancements. Vorthak soldiers filled the hallway ahead of her. She had no ammunition left. Her right arm didn't work anymore, but she had done it. The upload was complete. She had bought Dr. Choi enough time. Lee smiled, tasting blood. She pulled a detonator from her belt with her left hand. This entire section was rigged with explosives. "For humanity," Lee whispered, and pressed the button. The Lazarus facility exploded in a white flash visible from orbit. Above, Vorthak ships fired their planet-killing weapons at Earth. The surface burned. Cities vanished. The oceans boiled. Supreme Warlord Krathax watched from his flagship. "Humanity is extinct," he announced to his fleet. "The war is over. We have won," his commanders cheered. They broadcast their victory across the galaxy. The Vorthak Dominion had destroyed another species that dared to challenge them. But deep beneath the destroyed Antarctic facility, shielded by kilometers of ice and rock, quantum servers continued their work. Automated construction systems in hidden locations across the galaxy activated. The Lazarus protocol was in motion. Humanity slept and dreamed of revenge. The Vorthak had celebrated too soon. They thought they had won. They didn't understand what they had created. They had given humanity 3 things: a reason to hate, time to prepare, and nothing left to lose. 300 years of silence began. 300 years passed. The Vorthak Dominion grew larger and stronger. They conquered 6 more species. Their empire now controlled 40 star systems. Vorthak children learned about the extinct humans in history class. Earth was a dead world, occasionally visited by Vorthak warriors as a monument to their military power. Young Vorthak soldiers made pilgrimages to Earth's ruins. They walked through the burned cities and took pictures of human skeletons. They boasted about their ancestors who had destroyed an entire species. Humanity was ancient history, a warning to other species about what happened when you challenged the Dominion. Commander Velrax was old now. He had been young when Earth burned. He was the only Vorthak still alive who remembered fighting humans. Now he was a politician, too old for military service but still respected. Sometimes at government meetings he would warn the younger Vorthak about underestimating extinct enemies. Nobody listened to him. Why worry about a species that had been dead for 3 centuries? But strange things were happening across the galaxy. Vorthak patrols reported unusual energy signatures in dead star systems. Mining operations disappeared without explanation. Automated stations went silent. The Vorthak military investigated but found nothing. They blamed equipment failures and pirates. They never connected these incidents to humanity. Why would they? Humans were extinct. In a nebula far from any inhabited system, something massive was being built. Construction drones worked silently, following programs written 300 years ago. When a Vorthak patrol discovered the site, the drones scattered, and the patrol found only empty space. The Vorthak commander filed a report about possible pirate activity and moved on. Deep in interstellar space, hidden inside a hollowed asteroid, the first Lazarus pods began to activate. Green lights flickered on across thousands of chambers. Inside the pods, cloned bodies stirred. Uploaded consciousnesses began downloading into fresh neural networks. Yumi Choi opened her eyes. She was in a medical bay. Soft lights illuminated white walls. She sat up slowly, looking at her hands. They were her hands, same size, same shape. But these hands were 300 years old, grown from her stored DNA. Around her, other people were waking up. Most were young like her. Some were children, confused and frightened. A few adults sat up looking grim and purposeful. All of them remembered. They remembered Earth burning. They remembered saying goodbye to their families. They remembered going to sleep during humanity's last days. A holographic figure appeared in the center of the room. It was an AI, the facility's artificial intelligence that had been working alone for 3 centuries. "Welcome," the AI said. "I am Lazarus Prime. You have been asleep for 302 years. I apologize for the disorientation. Your bodies are new, but your minds are intact. All memories have been successfully restored." Yumi stood on shaking legs. "My father, Dr. Minho Choi, is he here?" "I am sorry," the AI replied. Dr. Choi did not upload his consciousness. He remained behind to activate the Lazarus protocol. He died when the facility was destroyed. Yumi had known this. The memory was clear. Her father helping her into the pod, lying that he would see her again. But hearing it confirmed still hurt. She was 16 years old, technically over 300 years old, and an orphan. "What happened to Earth?" someone asked. "Did we win?" The AI displayed images. Earth was a dead rock. No atmosphere, no oceans, no life. The Vorthak had been thorough. Then it showed images of the Vorthak Empire. Vast, powerful, controlling 40 systems. The species they had enslaved. The monuments built to celebrate humanity's extinction. The room filled with angry murmurs. These young people remembered losing everything. Now they saw that the enemy who killed them had prospered and grown strong. The Vorthak believed they destroyed humanity. The AI continued. "They are wrong. Humanity survived in this facility and 147 others like it. Total human population, 83,000 individuals. Additionally, I have spent 3 centuries following Dr. Choi's final protocols." The AI showed more images. Hidden shipyards across the galaxy, massive weapons platforms, advanced technology far beyond what humanity possessed 300 years ago, research facilities that had been conducting automated experiments for centuries, a fleet of warships unlike anything the Vorthak had ever seen. "I have built according to your parents' designs and improved upon them," the AI explained. "Human technology is now centuries more advanced than Vorthak capabilities. I have also monitored all Vorthak communications for 300 years. I know their military protocols, their fleet positions, their weaknesses. Everything is ready." "Ready for what?" Yumi asked, though she already knew the answer. "Revenge," the AI said simply. Dr. Choi designed Project Lazarus for 2 purposes. First, to preserve humanity. Second, to create a weapon that could destroy the Vorthak Dominion. You are that weapon. You carry the uploaded memories of Earth's greatest soldiers, scientists, and leaders. You have access to technology the Vorthak cannot counter. You have the element of surprise. The means for revenge are prepared. The decision is yours." Silence filled the medical bay. These young people looked at each other. They remembered being children saying goodbye to parents. They remembered adults who sacrificed everything so they could live. Admiral Kwan dying on his ship. Captain Park flying into enemy fire. Commander Lee holding a corridor against impossible odds. One of the adults spoke up. His name was Dong-hyun, and he carried the uploaded combat memories of multiple soldiers. "We could run, hide, build a new civilization far from Vorthak space. That was the original plan, wasn't it? To survive?" "Yes," the AI confirmed. "You have that choice. The galaxy is large. The Vorthak would never find you." Yumi thought about this. She could live peacefully. She could forget about the Vorthak and focus on rebuilding humanity. That was logical. That was safe. But when she closed her eyes, she saw her father's face. She remembered him activating the Lazarus Protocol, knowing he would die. She remembered Admiral Kwan's last words. "Keep fighting." "They killed everyone," Yumi said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard her. "They destroyed Earth. They celebrate our extinction. They teach their children that destroying us was their greatest achievement, and they're still conquering, still enslaving, still killing. If we run and hide, we're saying that was okay. We're saying their victory was complete." Another young woman stood. Her name was Minseo, and she carried Captain Park's uploaded memories and skills. "My predecessor died protecting children. Our parents died protecting us. They gave us a future, but they also gave us a choice. We can choose peace or justice. I choose justice." One by one, others stood. They were young, some barely teenagers, but they carried the memories of people who had fought and died. They understood what war meant. They also understood what their parents had sacrificed. "We vote," Yumi said. "Everyone gets a choice. Who votes to hide and rebuild peacefully?" Some hands went up. Maybe 1,000 people. They weren't cowards, they just wanted humanity to survive rather than risk extinction again. "Who votes to activate the weapons and fight the Vorthak?" The rest of the hands went up. Thousands of them. The vote wasn't even close. Humanity had chosen revenge. "Then we fight," Yumi said. "AI, show us what you've built." The AI took them on a tour of the facility. Hangar bays full of advanced fighters, weapons that could phase through shields, AI-controlled drones that learned and adapted, ships powered by quantum reactors that could travel faster than anything the Vorthak possessed. In the main hangar, a massive warship waited. It was beautiful and deadly, designed using 300 years of automated research. The AI had named it the New Indomitable. Yumi stood before it, feeling small. "I'm 16 years old. I don't know how to command a warship." "You carry your father's uploaded memories," the AI replied. "You have access to the knowledge and tactical experience of Earth's greatest commanders. The information is in your mind. You need only access it." Yumi closed her eyes and reached deep into her memories. She found things that weren't hers: tactical knowledge, military strategy, command experience. Her father's memories, Admiral Kwan's uploaded expertise. It was overwhelming and strange. She was herself, but also something more. She opened her eyes and looked at the New Indomitable. "How long until all facilities are activated and all humans are awake?" 6 months, the AI replied. "Then we have 6 months to prepare," Yumi said. "When we're ready, we send the Vorthak a message. We tell them humanity has returned, and we make them regret what they did." Across the galaxy, other Lazarus facilities began activating. Thousands of humans woke from their 3-century sleep. Shipyards revealed themselves. Weapons platforms came online. A fleet assembled in the darkness between stars. The Vorthak Dominion had no idea what was coming. They had celebrated their victory over humanity for 300 years. They had grown comfortable and complacent. They didn't understand that they hadn't destroyed humanity. They had just given it time to evolve. 6 months later, Yumi Choi stood on the bridge of the New Indomitable. Around her, the awakened humans took their positions. Minseo commanded the fighter wings. Dongyun led the ground forces. 83,000 humans, all carrying the uploaded memories of those who had died defending Earth. "Transmit the message," Yumi ordered. The human fleet emerged at Krelon Station, the Vorthak military headquarters. The station was massive, a fortress in space that commanded 20 star systems. It had never been attacked in its 200-year history. The Vorthak believed it was invincible. They were wrong. The New Indomitable led the assault. Yumi Choi stood on the bridge, accessing her uploaded tactical knowledge. The station's defenses looked formidable. Shields, weapons platforms, hundreds of fighters. But the AI had studied Vorthak technology for 3 centuries. It knew every weakness. "Launch quantum torpedoes," Yumi ordered. "Target their shield generators." The torpedoes were unlike anything the Vorthak had seen. They phased partially into subspace, passing through the station's shields as if they weren't there. Explosions rippled across the shield generators. The station's defenses collapsed in seconds. Vorthak commanders watched in confusion. How had their shields failed? They scrambled fighters and activated weapons platforms. But the human fleet moved with impossible coordination. Every ship knew exactly where to be and when. The AI had predicted every Vorthak response because it had spent 300 years studying their military doctrine. Minseo led her fighter squadron into the battle. She carried Captain Park's uploaded memories and skills. She flew with the same fearless precision that Park had shown 3 centuries ago. Her squadron moved like a single organism, destroying Vorthak fighters with casual efficiency. "This is for Earth," Minseo whispered as she destroyed her 10th enemy fighter. "This is for everyone who didn't get to wake up." The battle lasted 6 minutes. Krelon Station was destroyed. 3,000 Vorthak soldiers died. The human fleet suffered 0 casualties. It wasn't a battle, it was an execution. Yumi broadcast a message to all Vorthak channels. She spoke in perfect Vorthak language, which shocked them. "For every human world you destroyed, a Vorthak world will burn. For every human you killed, 10 Vorthak will die. This is not war. This is justice. We are humanity and we have returned." The message spread across the Vorthak dominion like wildfire. Panic followed. Humans were extinct, everyone knew this. But here they were with technology centuries more advanced, speaking perfect Vorthak, knowing exactly where to strike. It was impossible. It was terrifying. On the Vorthak homeworld, the Supreme Council convened an emergency meeting. The current Supreme Warlord, Krathos, was the grandson of the Krathax who destroyed Earth. He was young and arrogant, raised on stories of his grandfather's great victory. "This is impossible," Krathos said. "Humans are extinct. This must be some kind of trick." Commander Velrax, now ancient and barely able to stand, spoke up. "It is not a trick. I fought humans 300 years ago. I warned this council that we should have studied them, understood them. Instead, we celebrated and forgot. Now they have returned, and they are stronger than before." "Impossible," another council member said. "We destroyed their world. We watched them die." Velrax shook his head. "You destroyed their present. But humans always plan for the future. My grandfather Krathax celebrated too soon. He thought destroying their ships meant victory. He didn't understand that humanity's real strength was never their weapons. It was their refusal to surrender, even in extinction. Then we will destroy them again," Krathos declared. "Mobilize the entire fleet, every ship, every soldier. We will crush them like we crushed Earth." Velrax tried to warn them that this enemy was different, but nobody listened. The young Vorthak leaders saw only a threat to be eliminated. They didn't understand they were facing ghosts who had spent 3 centuries preparing for this exact moment. The Vorthak assembled their war fleet at the Zirath system. 5,000 warships. The largest fleet in Dominion history. They outnumbered the human fleet 20 to 1. The Vorthak commanders were confident. Numbers always won battles. The human fleet arrived exactly as the AI predicted they would. Yumi looked at the tactical display showing thousands of enemy ships. The old her, the 16-year-old girl who went to sleep during Earth's fall, would have been terrified. But she also carried her father's uploaded knowledge and Admiral Kwan's tactical genius. She knew exactly what to do. "Release the swarms," she ordered. Hundreds of thousands of small drones launched from the human ships. Each drone carried advanced AI that could learn and adapt in real time. The Vorthak opened fire, destroying thousands of drones. But the remaining drones learned from each loss, adjusting their approach, finding weaknesses. The drones swarmed Vorthak ships like metal insects. They targeted weak points that the AI had identified through 3 centuries of study. Reactors, life support, command centers. The Vorthak fleet began to fall apart. "They know our weaknesses," a Vorthak commander reported in panic. "They're targeting systems we didn't know were vulnerable." How is this possible? It was possible because the AI had monitored every Vorthak communication for 300 years. It had studied every battle, every ship design, every tactical doctrine. The Vorthak were fighting an enemy that knew them better than they knew themselves. The battle lasted 3 hours. 70% of the Vorthak fleet was destroyed. The human fleet lost 12 ships. It wasn't even close. As the surviving Vorthak ships retreated, Yumi felt something unexpected. Guilt. She was watching thousands of Vorthak soldiers die. Yes, their ancestors had killed humanity. But were these young soldiers responsible for crimes committed 300 years ago? They were just following orders, just like human soldiers had. She pushed the thought away. There would be time for moral questions later. Now was the time for victory. The human fleet moved through Vorthak space like a knife through paper. They liberated enslaved species, destroyed military bases, and dismantled the infrastructure of the Dominion. Everywhere they went, Yumi broadcast the same message. Humanity had returned and the Vorthak would pay for Earth's destruction. Within 6 months, Half the Vorthak Empire had fallen. The species they had enslaved rose up in rebellion, helped by human weapons and intelligence. The galaxy that had feared the Vorthak dominion now cheered for humanity's revenge. But not everyone on the human fleet was comfortable with what they were becoming. Dongyun, who carried Commander Lee's uploaded memories, spoke to Yumi privately on the bridge one night. Commander Lee fought to protect children, Dongyun said. We're bombing Vorthak cities. There are children down there too. We only target military sites, Yumi replied, but she knew that wasn't entirely true. Collateral damage was inevitable in war. The Vorthak killed our children, Dongyun said. That was wrong. If we kill their children even accidentally, are we any better? Yumi didn't have an answer. She dismissed Dongyun and sat alone on the bridge, staring at the stars. She had led humanity to victory after victory. They were winning the war. But Dongyun's question bothered her. What were they becoming? She accessed her father's uploaded memories, searching for guidance. She found a message he had recorded before he died, meant only for her. Yumi, if you're hearing this, then Project Lazarus worked and you woke up in a future I'll never see. I'm sorry for the burden I've placed on you. You'll have power and knowledge beyond anything I could imagine. You'll face choices I can't help you with. But remember this. I didn't build the Lazarus Protocol just to preserve humanity's bodies or knowledge. I built it to preserve humanity's soul. Revenge is easy. Mercy is hard. Being human means choosing the hard path. Whatever you become in the future, stay human. That's all I ask. Yumi closed the memory file. She looked at the tactical display showing Vorthak space. The human fleet was approaching the Vorthak homeworld. They had enough firepower to destroy it completely, to do to the Vorthak exactly what was done to Earth. The Vorthak government sent surrender offers. They begged for peace. Yumi could ignore them. She could order the planet's destruction. The uploaded memories of soldiers who died at Earth screamed for exactly that revenge. But her father's words echoed in her mind. Stay human. She called a meeting of all senior commanders. They gathered in the new Indomitables conference room, young people with ancient memories carrying the pain of extinction and the power to inflict it. We can destroy the Vorthak homeworld, Yumi said. We have the weapons. We have the right. Earth demands it. But I want to ask you all a question. If we commit genocide, even justified genocide, what have we become? Are we still the humans who Admiral Kwan died protecting? Or are we something else? The room erupted in argument. Some demanded total revenge. Others argued for restraint. They debated for hours. Finally, Minseo stood up. Captain Park died protecting children, Minseo said. If she could see us now debating whether to kill billions of Vorthak civilians, what would she say? Would she be proud? Or would she be disappointed that we learned nothing from our own extinction? The arguing stopped. They all knew the answer. We vote, Yumi said. Destroy the Vorthak homeworld or show mercy. This is the most important decision humanity will ever make. It will define what we are. The fleet-wide vote took place. Every awakened human participated. The result came back. 57% voted for mercy. 43% wanted revenge. It was close, painfully close. But mercy won. Yumi broadcast a message to the Vorthak homeworld. 300 years ago, you destroyed Earth and celebrated our extinction. Today, we have the power to do the same to you. The human fleet surrounded the Vorthak homeworld. From orbit, Yumi could see billions of lives below. Cities, farms, schools. The Vorthak were terrified, waiting for the destruction they knew they deserved. But it wouldn't come. Humanity had voted for mercy. Still, mercy didn't mean forgiveness. It didn't mean forgetting. Commander Velrax's message arrived on Yumi's personal channel. She was surprised. The ancient Vorthak warrior was the only one who had witnessed Earth's fall and lived to see humanity's return. His message was simple. May I speak with you? Yumi agreed. A shuttle brought Velrax to the new Indomitable. He walked slowly, his forearms trembling with age. He was over 300 years old, ancient by Vorthak standards. When he entered the conference room where Yumi waited, he stopped and stared at her. You look like children, Velrax said in perfect human language, but you have old eyes. We are children, Yumi replied. Children who remember dying. Children who were forced to become weapons. What do you want, Commander? Velrax sat down heavily. I watched Earth burn. I was there when Supreme Warlord Krathak celebrated humanity's extinction. I tried to warn him that humans were dangerous because they never surrendered. He didn't listen. Now 300 years later, I stand before you. You have the power to destroy us completely. You have every right, but you chose mercy. I came to ask why. Yumi thought about this. Because my father asked me to stay human. Because Admiral Kwan died hoping we would be better than our circumstances. Because Captain Park sacrificed herself to protect children. If we commit genocide, even righteous genocide, we become what destroyed us. We become monsters. Then you are stronger than we ever were, Velrak said quietly. The Dominion would never have shown mercy. I know, Yumi said. That's exactly why we must. They talked for hours. Velrax told her about the Vorthak Dominion's history, centuries of conquest and cruelty. He admitted his people's crimes without excuse. He accepted that the Dominion was finished. But he asked what would come next. Yumi had thought about this during the long months of war. The Vorthak Empire is dissolved. Your military is destroyed, but your people survive. You will give up 40 star systems to the species you enslaved. You will help rebuild what you destroyed, and you will teach your children what you did, so they never repeat it. This is not mercy, it's justice with memory. And Earth? Velrax asked. Earth will be restored, Yumi said. It will take centuries, but we have the technology. It will become a monument, not to victory, but to the cost of hatred. Everyone will visit it. Everyone will learn what happens when you try to exterminate a species. Velrax nodded slowly. It is more than we deserve. I will help however I can. If my people must learn from their crimes, I will teach them. The treaty was signed 3 weeks later. The Vorthak accepted all terms. They had no choice, but Yumi could see that many understood they were being given something precious. A future. Not all humans agreed with the treaty. The faction that left the fleet, 30,000 strong, attacked a Vorthak colony world in defiance. Yumi sent the new Indomitable to stop them. The confrontation happened in orbit above the colony. The rebel leader, a man named Jihoon who carried the darkest uploaded memories of Earth's fall, broadcast a message to Yumi. You're betraying everyone who died for us. The Vorthak deserve extinction. We'll finish what Admiral Kwan started. Yumi felt anger rise in her chest. Admiral Kwan died protecting children's future. You're disgracing his memory. Stand down. Make me. The two fleets faced each other, human against human. Yumi didn't want to fire on her own people, but she couldn't let them commit genocide. She activated a weapon the AI had developed, an electromagnetic pulse that would disable ships without destroying them. The rebel fleet went dark, their systems shut down. Recovery ships collected them. Jihoon was brought before Yumi. He was furious. You should have let us finish them. They killed Earth. Their ancestors killed Earth, Yumi corrected. The Vorthak down on that colony weren't alive 300 years ago. They're guilty of being born Vorthak, nothing more. If we kill them for that, we're no better than the ones who killed us. So what? We just forgive and forget? No, Yumi said. We remember. We make them remember, but we don't become murderers. I'm giving you a choice. Accept the treaty and help rebuild or leave. Take your ships and go to the Galactic Rim. Build your own society away from Vorthak space. But you will not commit genocide in humanity's name. Jihoon stared at her for a long time. Finally, he nodded. I'll leave, but I still think you're wrong. Maybe I am, Yumi admitted, but it's the choice I can live with. 5,000 humans left with Jihoon heading for unexplored space. Yumi watched them go. Humanity had survived extinction, returned from the void and defeated their enemy. But they were fractured now, divided over what justice meant. Perhaps that division was also part of being human, the freedom to disagree even about fundamental things. 1 year after the war ended, Yumi stood on Earth's surface for the first time. The planet was still dead, but restoration had begun. Automated terraformers worked across the continents. The atmosphere was being rebuilt molecule by molecule. In 1,000 years, Earth would be green again. She walked to Antarctica to the ruins of the Lazarus facility. A monument was being built there. It would list every name of every human who died defending the project. Admiral Taiho Kwan, Captain Hejin Park, Dr. Minho Choi, Commander Boram Lee, Engineer Junho Nam, Communications Officer Yuna Shin. Thousands of others. Yumi placed her hand on her father's name. We survived, Dad. We came back. And we stayed human. I hope that's enough. Minseo joined her at the monument. Do you think they'd be proud of us? I don't know, Yumi admitted. We won the war, but we're divided. Some humans will never forgive the Vorthak. Some Vorthak will always resent us. It's messy and complicated and not the perfect ending I wish we could have. But we survived, Minseo said. And we chose mercy when we could have chosen extinction. Captain Park died protecting children. Now those children, us, are protecting more children. Vorthak children. I think she'd understand that, Yumi nodded. They stood together in silence. Two young women with ancient memories on a dead world that would someday live again. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed. Humanity established a confederation with the freed species. The Vorthak Empire became the Vorthak Republic, governed by councils instead of warlords. Young Vorthak and humans worked together on restoration projects. It wasn't peace, there was too much trauma for that, but it was coexistence. Yumi served as humanity's ambassador. She traveled between worlds, negotiating treaties, settling disputes, trying to build something better than what existed before. It was hard work, often frustrating, but it felt meaningful. One day, the AI contacted her with news. More Lazarus facilities had been found in deep space, hidden so well that even the AI hadn't known about them. Thousands more humans were waking up. Each time they faced the same choice, revenge or recovery. So far, recovery was winning. Yumi thought about this. Dr. Choi had built redundancy into the Lazarus protocol. He scattered humanity across the galaxy, ensuring that no single catastrophe could destroy them all. He gave them technology and knowledge, but most importantly, he gave them a choice. They could become weapons of revenge or architects of peace. The choice was always theirs. On Earth's slowly healing moon, a ceremony was held. A time capsule was buried containing records of everything: the fall, the sleep, the return, and the choice. The capsule bore an inscription in 12 languages. The enemy celebrated too soon. They thought they had destroyed us. Instead, they taught us that survival is not enough. We must also remain human. To all who read this, remember what was lost, honor what was saved, and choose the future over the past. Yumi stood at the ceremony, watching humans and Vorthak bury the capsule together. Commander Velrax was there, ancient and frail but alive. Young Vorthak children asked questions about the war. Human children explained their parents' sacrifice. Together they tried to understand. That night, alone in her quarters, Yumi accessed her father's final message one more time. His recorded voice filled the room. Whatever you become in the future, stay human. That's all I ask. Yumi smiled through tears. We did, Dad. It was hard. It's still hard. We're not perfect, but we stayed human. We chose mercy. We chose to build instead of just destroy. I hope you're proud. She looked out her window at Earth, slowly turning green again after 3 centuries of death. Ships from a dozen species orbited the planet, working together on the restoration. Human and Vorthak engineers collaborated on terraforming projects. Children who should have been enemies played together on space stations. It wasn't the revenge that some had wanted. It wasn't the simple victory that would make a good story, but it was real. It was complicated. It was human. The Vorthak had celebrated too soon 300 years ago. They thought destroying humanity's ships and cities meant destroying humanity itself. They didn't understand that humanity's real strength was never their weapons or their technology. It was their ability to choose hope over hate, mercy over revenge, the future over the past. They had tried to make humanity extinct. Instead, they had created something unexpected, a humanity that understood the true cost of extinction and refused to inflict it on others.